All right. So we're back to fitness.
Yeah. No,
What
I'm super excited. Um, yeah, man. So like one thing I wanted to ask you was like what do you see as the difference in like state to state? You run a fitness facility
yeah.
being in, a different state that's, not as, everybody says it's not as fitness minded.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I wanted to ask you was like what do you see as the big difference in the two areas, whether it's cities or states?
It's definitely more, I feel like fitness is more practical. So I don't think I we talked about it on a previous podcast, and we don't have to rehash everything. Just go listen, go watch it. But kind of like you were saying, like people don't necessarily think you're like trying to trick them when you're talking about fitness. But at the same time, like if they don't think that they need help in a certain area, they're not going to do it. Like it's like, or if they don't want to. Um, because in San Diego, it was more like, we've said it just like, hey, I'm a member at this gym, I'm a member at Fit Athletic. Oh, cool. Like that's a cool gym. Like, and it's like a status thing. But at least in Texas, it seems like very practical. Like I've had more questions than ever of like, hey, do you have a membership that just uses the pool? And I'm like, no, we don't. Okay. What about just classes? I'm like, not really. It's you get access to the gym. There's couple different options, but it's not like you just get a pool membership or, something along those lines. And same goes for like cancellations. It's like, in San Diego, it'd be like, hey, can we interest you? You want to cancel? Can we interest you in a free month? Or in Texas, they're like, well, why would I need a free month? I'm not using it. Like, I'm
Right.
not going to use it. I'm not using it. I haven't been. Oh, do you want to work with a trainer for free? No. Like, it's
Right.
just, I don't know if you're seeing that. And kind of along the same lines, like it's super hot here now. And I'm sure it's the same in Florida, if not
Oh man.
more because humidity,
Yeah.
but people are coming in. They're like, I'm here because of the AC. And I'm like, oh, cool,
Yeah.
man. Cool. Nice.
Might as well.
Yeah. So that's like just on the very like surface, it's just very practical. That's the only word I can really think of where it's just like just common sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think the same thing kind of goes for us. Like, and like you said, we talked about it on a previous episode, but one of the things that I always felt like in San Diego was, and maybe it was the area, maybe it was the way that our company was going about it in a certain time or certain whatever it was, but a lot of it seemed like the members and your clientele are always looking for that sale. They're always looking for,
Yep.
I'll do this if I can get a promotion, or I'll do this if I can have this on a sale.
Mm-hmm.
Where here it's more like, okay, I know that I need something
Yeah.
and I just need it to fit within my budget.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be working with a trainer, working on some kind of a program or something like that. So it's very different. And again, maybe it's the approach, maybe it's I'm still trying to figure that out, if it's the
Oh,
approach or if it's the
yeah.
member
One thing,
base or what it is.
one thing to note too is, I don't know the pricing structure specifically, but it's not about the price. Like what you just said, like, looking for a deal or a sale, like the prices could be the exact same in these two different places. And sometimes they're more, and, it's still not about the sale or the deal. Like you're saying, that just popped in my mind. I was like, you know, it's interesting.
Yeah, so our pricing actually right now is technically more than it
Mhm,
was in San Diego.
mhm,
And it's not because things cost more or anything like that. It's just it's a different structure and it's a different price point. With
right.
that being said, it doesn't seem like the price is an issue at all ever. It's just about the value. It's about what you
Mhm.
bring to the table, things like that. So
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting. It's just a little piece, little nugget, but
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that I've noticed too is when it comes to like kind of like I was saying with the AC, it's like people are, look, maybe they do a lot of their exercise outside, which a lot of people do in San Diego. But there's a
Right.
lot of like seasonality to even more so here where it's like winter, like people come in because they don't want to run in the snow. It snows sometimes here. Or like summer, it's they're coming in because they want the AC or whatnot. Like there's more seasonality to it, and then they cancel their memberships when they're not using them. It's like, hey, no, I'm running outside. I'm a biker. I really only use the membership, during these months or whatever.
Yeah.
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 What
So, I mean, that's crazy. It's just so, just cities are different.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, and even certain things like, like, hey, maybe you should freeze it because you're gonna have to pay the initiation, and they're like, it's all good. I'll pay the initiation next time I come back. I'm used to this. I do this all the time. It's like, but that might save. They're like, doesn't matter. I just don't want it right now. Like, it's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
What now let's go personal. So what are you doing for your workouts right now?
For me, oh man. So this is actually something that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah.
I've been focusing so much more on the amount of time that I'm actually working out.
Okay.
Um, and this is something I go back, 10 years or
Mhm.
so when I first really started knowing what I was doing when I was training somebody.
Yep.
Um, and this is something that, I'm sure we've talked about it in the past, but just so that everybody that's listening can kind of get a figure for. I had a meeting last week with some of the team, and we went over this, and it's just really eye-opening for me when you dig deep into how somebody
Program.
trains and stuff like that. So, my question is always, what is the average person? How many times a week do they usually go to the gym? What would you say?
Couple.
A couple times, right? The average person goes to
Yeah.
the gym like 3 times a week, right?
Yeah.
When you go to the gym, how long do you think they imagine they're going to the gym for? Is it like 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 6 hours?
I'd say people probably say go for an hour.
Go for an hour, and that's it, right? I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week for an hour, right? And that's kind of the standard. Okay, so we're in the gym. We're in the gym 3 days a week. We're in the gym for an hour each day. Let's take cardio out of it, and we're just talking about resistance training because that's going to go into something else that I wanted to talk about. But
Yeah.
we're just doing resistance training, right? What would you say the average person does in terms of reps and sets?
Super average, 3 sets of 10,
Three
maybe
sets of 10.
five
That's it.
sets. Yeah. Or I
Yeah,
mean, 5 exercises. Or yeah.
exactly. Right. 5 exercises. So 3 sets of 10, 5 exercises. So then you really dig deep into that. Okay, well, how long, on the average, it's a bench press, it's a lat pull down, it's a row, it's whatever, right? So every single set, if you're doing 10 reps, you've got like maybe 15 seconds if you're lucky. Most people aren't controlling the movement and they're going fast through it. So it might even be 10 seconds for 10 reps, right? Let's just go on the higher end. Let's say it's 15 seconds for 10 reps, right? So that's 45 seconds for one workout. You
Yep.
got 5 of those workouts. So you're less than 5 minutes that you're actually working out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's a huge, when I first learned about this years ago, that was a huge eye-opening experience. So the average person works out for less than 5 minutes when they go to the gym. They go to the gym for an hour, they go to the gym 3 days a week. So in an entire week, cardio aside, resistance training, they've got less than 15 minutes
Mm-hmm.
of of actual workout every single week.
Yep.
Right. Maybe you do cardio, most people don't. And so that's one of the biggest things I was going to, ask you, but one of the biggest things, one of the biggest mistakes that I see with trainers or with people working out is I think everybody overestimates the effort that they put in, right?
Yep.
They're on their phone, they're talking to people, it's a social hour,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they sweat, maybe they don't, maybe they feel like they got a little bit of a pump in a workout. But at the end of the day, unless you're really tracking how long you're resting for and how long you're working out for, it's crazy to know that, you're not really doing very much.
Right. And then they wonder why, I've been working out for 10 years. Why am I regressing or not progressing or whatever? Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. Everybody's kind of like, you're focused on other things. Like I said, you're not focused on your heart rate. How
Mhm.
many times do you talk to somebody about, oh, I'm just going to do cardio when I'm in the gym? Awesome. What's your heart rate at? oh, I don't know, I'm just doing cardio. Well,
Yeah.
that's
I do
arguably
10
the most
miles.
important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's arguably the most important thing when you're doing cardio is what's
Mhm.
your heart rate at? What's
Yep.
your, what are your intervals? What are you going for time? Are you going for distance? What are we training for? And
Exactly. That's
if
what
we
I was
can't
gonna say.
answer that question, then what are we even doing? Are we just, honestly, are we just wasting
Wasting time.
time? And then,
Yep.
you ask people, hey, do you have a picture of what you look like 5 years ago when you started working out? And they were leaner 5 years ago,
Mhm.
and they were arguably in better shape 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's always an excuse. Oh, well, it's been really hard the last couple of years. My work is getting in the way, or this is getting in the way,
Right.
and that's basically something that I wanted to touch on, because you and I think are on the same kind of, I don't want to say wavelength, but the same kind of like we focus on the same thing. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I was going to bring up is, we always talk about, especially through the last 2 years with the
Mhm.
pandemic, everybody talks about obesity, and I don't even know what the stat is now because I don't think it's
Yeah.
important, but
Probably the worst.
we were the fifth most obese country, and then we were the third, and then at one point we got to the first, and then we dropped to the second, and
Hey,
we're just
USA, number one.
we're arguably like the fattest country, right?
Mhm.
So my question to you, like while we're talking about this, was,
Yeah.
do you think that we have an obesity problem?
Honestly, well, yes, but I think it comes down to way more than that. Like more about what we've talked about in previous episodes is like it could be a motivation problem. It could be a social problem, a mental health problem, because now even the way we're picturing things, and this isn't to fat shame anyone, if you are actively trying to better yourself, to improve yourself, to whatever that means to you,
Yeah.
then good for you. But if we're putting things out there that are showing someone who would be classified as unhealthy on a standard scale, not just in your opinion, um, then
Right.
what are we understand there's different body types. We understand there's people who are larger or smaller or at different parts in their journey, but um, is that the goal? And I hear people say like, well, everyone doesn't want to be a bodybuilder. And it's like, no, everyone doesn't have to be a bodybuilder, but everyone should strive to be the healthiest version of themselves. And for
Right.
some people, they're trying to convince the public or themselves that the healthiest version of themselves is where they're at right now. And I would argue for nearly everyone, that is not true.
Right. And so one of the things that, I've been challenging everybody that I work with on a day-to-day basis is, looking at it from a different perspective, right? So
Mhm.
something that you just talked about was, are they the healthiest version of themselves right now?
Mhm.
One of the things I've been challenging everybody to think of and look at it from a different perspective is, do we have an obesity problem, or do we have a muscle problem?
Yeah.
Are we over fat, or are we under muscled?
Mhm.
And then you can deep dive into that as much as you want, but when you talk about muscle metabolism, and you talk about how your body functions when you have more muscle on you, and I'm not talking bodybuilder get on stage 6% body fat, I'm just
Right.
talking about the average person having a little bit more muscle on them than they currently have, and
Right.
how much faster your brain is working, how much more
Right.
energy you have, how much, just from a muscle metabolism, from like a digestive metabolism, everything is working.
Baseline calorie goal. Yeah.
Yeah, everything's working at a much higher rate,
Mhm.
for the positive, when we talk about having more muscle on you than when we really talk about having less fat.
Right.
And I think one of the biggest problems that trainers have, or the fitness industry has, is we always focus on, well, how much do you weigh?
Mhm.
What's your body fat, and how can we decrease your body fat?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, hey, what's your body fat? Let's break that percentage down into actually fat
Lean.
mass and
Yeah.
lean muscle mass, and how can we increase your lean muscle mass? I personally think we're just having the wrong conversation. We're
Mhm.
talking about how do we decrease body fat, and most people, when you talk about, oh, have you ever lost weight before, have you ever lost, a significant amount of body fat, they either say yes, but I put it back on, or no, I haven't been able to get there.
Right.
But they've only been focusing on that. They haven't been focusing on how much lean mass they actually have.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into the same conversation that I hear tons of trainers having. Well, we need to cut your calories down to this. We need to do, restrict. Like, there is a point where you actually can make yourself sick by restricting too much. But like you're saying, your BMR, not BMI, obviously BMR is gonna, if you increase your muscle mass, it's gonna be higher.
Right.
So is the goal really to restrict yourself and to like live, like you're just not, you're denying yourself, some of the pleasures of life, like, or is it to get the body composition that you want, but to also be able to have every now and again some of the fun foods, like, because if you ask most people, hey, and this is general, most people, hey, if you looked like this, but you have to eat, and this is their perfect body, but you have to eat salads and this super lean everything all day, they're gonna be like, probably not worth it. But if you say,
Not
hey,
worth it.
yeah, if you say, hey, you can look like this, maybe it's 95% of that goal, but it's more muscle or whatever, play with the ratios, but you get to add it, you get ice cream once a week, you get a little pizza or whatever. They're like, okay, how do I do that? And that's exactly what you're saying.
It's more feasible. You're
Mhm.
able to do that, right?
It's
And I
realistic.
think one of the things that we always talk about is, when I hear I hear clients and I hear, members and just anybody trying to change their appearance and change their health level, they always say, oh, well, eating healthy is really expensive,
Mhm.
right? And then you look at the long term, and I know it's just a saying, but you can really break that down. And well, eating healthy might seem expensive, but think about not eating healthy. Think about what it's going to take, the toll it's going to take on your
Mhm.
life. And,
Yep.
this is, I think people, you know, everybody sugarcoats everything, no pun intended, but
Yeah.
everything sugarcoats it to say, oh, it's okay. Like, I'll take a look at this when when I need to, you
Yep.
know, and, and, and I think we're missing the point that, you think about all of these issues that poor diets and everything play later on in life. You have high blood pressure, you have cholesterol, you have cardiovascular disease, you have Alzheimer's, you have all of this stuff.
Arthritis. Yep.
That doesn't develop later in life.
Mhm.
That starts in your 20s and 30s, and it just comes out later in life. And so
Yep.
if you can change your course earlier in life, you won't have those issues.
Right.
And everybody
Or at
says, oh, it
least,
runs in my family. It
yeah.
does this. And it's how you eat. It's
Mhm.
how much you work out. It's the amount of muscle that you have on you.
Or at least you can push it back further. So instead of hitting at 60 when you're trying to enjoy your
Yeah.
retirement years, it hits at 80 and you're like, all right, well, I can just keep doing what I'm doing instead of like, dang, I really need to address this, right now because it's life or death. It's more like this is my lifestyle. I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing and um try and be the healthiest version of myself I can.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that all boils down to, everyone says that, like, losing weight and keeping it off and being healthy and all of this like we have an obesity problem. But I think ultimately, to tie it all up, I don't think we necessarily have like an obesity problem. I think we have a muscle mass problem. We don't have enough muscle mass. And again, not bodybuilder muscle, just everyday muscle that you should have on you.
Right.
And, everyone looks at obesity is like this, like, end all be all, but it's the symptom
Right.
of your poor diets. Or sorry, it, it's the symptom of everything. It's not the root cause of everything. Everybody says, oh,
Right.
well, I'm obese, so I can't do this and I can't do that. But it's actually the other way around.
Right.
So
Right.
changing the way that we look at things, and I challenged everybody that I was working with, this last week. I challenged them to think differently. Don't think about fat, think about more muscle, think about all of that,
Right.
and it's funny because I was getting texts all week saying I actually timed my workout. And it's funny, this trainer is specifically, um, you know, this trainer does really high intense workouts
Mhm.
where you would imagine longer rest periods and all of this, uh, maybe longer bursts of workouts. And this
Right.
trainer said that they worked out for 27 minutes in a hour and a half.
Yeah.
But
It's
it
not
was
bad
eye
actually.
opening.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It was eye opening because this trainer was like, wow, I thought I was working out for at least an hour and 15 minutes, and it's not even half of that.
Mhm.
Um, So then you take a look at how much your clients are working with you,
Right.
how much they're working with you versus what they're doing on their own.
Yep.
And it's the everybody knows this in the fitness industry, they're going to work harder with you than on their own. But what are they doing? What are they actually doing? How many times a
Right.
week are they coming in? Are they actually making a difference? And then doing the math and figuring out, hey, do you need to come in more? Do you need to come in and just work harder? Do you need to have a stopwatch when you're training? What do you need to do to be able to make sure that you're actually putting forth the effort to make a
Right.
significant change? And
Right.
it's really not that difficult when you actually start focusing on it. I think we just focus on the wrong things.
Yeah. Yeah. And even personally, like with my own workouts, I switch it up. I mean, it's just to not get stuck in that same kind of thing where it's like, um, I like bodybuilding workouts. I actually have started enjoying more like hit workouts, and kind of like blending the two. But yeah, like you're saying, there's depending on your goal, and that's what a lot of people lack is they don't have a real clear defined goal. They're just wanting to be healthier. Okay. And we know, working in the industry, that could mean 50 different things to one person or to multiple people. It could be anything. Play with the grandkids. Maybe they do want muscle, maybe they want to, be skinnier. But like figuring out like a real clear goal that you can work towards will really determine what everything flows from that, like what exercises you're going to do, what rest times you're going to do, and then making sure you're being the most efficient that you can. Because yeah, people, for most people, they don't necessarily enjoy going to the gym. So if they're coming in for an hour and they find out that they're doing 15 minutes of exercise, like they could do that in 30 minutes or 15
Right.
minutes if they were doing 100% effort the whole time. Like, um, that's got to be eye-opening to a lot of people, just understanding how much wasted time they have. And maybe, this goal that is looking like it's taken them 10 years to get might have only taken them 2 years if they would have had a real actual program or plan.
If they had a plan. And I think one of the biggest things that, that I've been talking about, at least this last week and this last month, working with a new team and all of that is, we have to take, I put it into a business perspective, right? We
Yep.
have to take things that are filtered down to us, right? Whether it be from a board or, the president of the company, the CEO, whatever their ultimate goal is, gets down to, whatever the upper management is, and
Mhm.
it gets filtered down, right? It's like the telephone game.
Yep.
We get a very diluted version of what the actual plan is.
Yep.
But if it were to be told to us, maybe not us specifically, but
Mhm.
certain people at our level, they might be scared off, right? If it was as cutthroat as it needs to be and all of that. So we get a filtered version of
Right.
of the overall goal. Well,
Right.
it's the same thing for clients. If we tell a client, hey, listen, like, you're not really doing anything when you come in, so what's even the point?
They're
That's
like,
going to scare
I'm
people
out.
away. So how do you
Yep.
have that? Yeah. So how do you have that conversation to say, hey, listen, we need to increase the intensity. I'm not asking you to be here longer. Let's increase the intensity. Let's increase the workout. Let's increase what we're doing, so that way we can have, again, we go back to it. We have more muscle at the end of the day. We're increasing our, metabolic metabolism. We're increasing everything. Then we can start to decrease the amount of time we're actually in the gym. We
Right.
can decrease the amount of overall effort as long as we increase the amount of effort when we are actually here. And
Yeah.
how do we have those conversations to get them more excited? Then when you see that they're making progress, they actually get more excited. They want to come into the gym more. They want to be, it's like a snowball effect, right? It's compounded, and now everybody wants to
Yeah.
to grow that, that time in the gym, and then you actually see some results. So
Right.
it's crazy just to look at it from a different perspective, but I think that was the big thing that hit me when I was talking to everybody this week.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what are you doing for your own workouts?
So for me, I've changed them up. I've been working on like hit style workouts, if you will.
Mhm.
I typically bleed more towards the bodybuilding style, one, two, maybe three muscle groups a day,
Mhm.
back and bi, chest and tri. It's what I've done for years. Lately, what I've been doing is I've been doing like a circuit style,
Mhm.
six or seven different workouts. I'm timing it. I'm stopping the time, because I didn't want to just talk about all this to the team. I wanted to actually like show it and prove it.
Right.
And it's crazy. A couple weeks ago, I did a workout in 45 minutes. I did 19 minutes of actual work, and I
Mhm.
was done. I was toast.
Yep.
And I think most people listening to this, they're going to be like, "Oh man, 19 minutes, that's nothing." Um, 19 minutes is a lot when you start and stop the time.
Yeah.
It's a lot of movement. It's a lot of, and I was dripping sweat, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow, such a different workout than I'm used to. So I've been doing workouts like that, more full body workouts, um, focusing on movement and time.
Mhm.
So that's what I've been doing, just because I think that it's the most important.
Right. Right. Yeah. I've kind of been doing the same thing since I did the Murph on Memorial Day. I actually built up to it this year. Weight vest, everything, because we did it last year together
Last year.
at the beach with that group, and man, it killed me. I with no weight vest.
Yep.
So I styled my workouts specifically towards that high intensity, high rep, and just completely opposite of what I normally do. And it, I mean, I've definitely noticed my cardio improve. My time improved with the Murph, and my am using a weight vest. I actually completed it.
Yeah.
Wasn't like 15 minutes, but but it was like triple that. But hey, it's really good. People don't understand the scientific part, and you'll know this obviously, but if you're a sprinter, they typically have you do long endurance runs, not every day, but it's part of your programming because you also need that aerobic capacity
Sure.
to perform in an anaerobic environment. There's sports specific training where you're a sprinter, you're gonna do sprints like a majority of the time. But same goes for long distance. They need to be able to have that explosiveness as well, and they work the reverse. So like the way I look at my training, and more so now than ever, is just like try everything. Like as much as I don't like CrossFit, I mean I was doing kettlebell cleans, I was doing kettlebell swings. Like all these are like foundational movements that are great movements if you do them correctly.
Right.
And if you incorporate them the right way. Like I didn't do the same workout routine every single day, 7 days a week or whatnot. But you can pick and choose from these different modalities that will in turn make you a well-rounded physique, but a well-rounded, person, athlete, whatever you want to call yourself. Because ultimately my goal is just to be super functional, but also strong, functionally
Yeah.
strong. That's my goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Those
So
are, I mean, and that comes with that style workout,
yeah.
right? But if your goal has always been the bodybuilding style, one
Mhm.
muscle group a day, it's going to be very difficult, if impossible,
Right.
to reach that goal.
Yeah. And again, like I like to look, you got to take it with a grain of salt with, performance enhancing drugs and all kinds of stuff. But look at if you are out there and you're listening to this and you're like, I want to look like this. Like look at the top level athletes. Like bodybuilding, it's going to be a little bit skewed. But like, I mean, there is a physique. If you're a female and you like the look of female CrossFit athletes, I mean, those exercises might work really well for you, and that might be what you want to do. If you like the look of like a gymnast or there's just these different body types that, come out of different types of exercise. So that's what I
Yeah.
would suggest.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think we hit that one home.
Yeah. All right.